Entering 2024, the Tennessee Titans are expected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but I think they're going to be a lot better than what people think. Obviously not Super Bowl contenders, they might not even win their division, but I think they're going to be pretty decent. I think they're going to be the team this season where they prove a lot of people wrong. You look at the new additions, you look at the defense, you look at the new receiving core, they're going to be a lot better than what people think. Without further ado, let's go over the team. Last year for my sleeper team, I chose the Atlanta Falcons, and at the time, it wasn't a bad pick. However, Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder completely blew it, and with hindsight, it's not a good pick. This time around, hopefully I'm more right, and hopefully no stupid coaches or stupid players ruin this prediction. We're going to get started on the offense, and of course, we're going to get started on the quarterback, Will Levis, and this is a really weird time to talk about him right now. If you are over the age of 13 or 14, you know why, but yeah, never mind. Let's just get over his stats or whatever. Levis fell in the 2023 NFL Draft infamously, and he was selected by the Tennessee Titans in the second round. And in his rookie season, he started 9 games. They went 3-6, and he could have done better. He wasn't awful. He threw for a little under 2,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And in 2024, a lot of people, including me, expect him to improve a lot. Okay, so now let's look at the rest of the offense. We first have to start off by stating the obvious. Derrick Henry. He's been the face of the Titans for a while, a very, very long time, a good few years, and he's just left to sign with the Ravens, and not having him on the roster is going to feel very, very weird. Even though they signed a running back replacement, we'll get to that very soon, it's still going to feel like a hole is still in Tennessee. Their Derrick Henry replacement, though, is former Cowboys running back now, Tony Pollard, who obviously isn't Derrick Henry. You can only replace Derrick Henry with one other guy, but Tony Pollard is a good running back. He made the Pro Bowl team in 2022, and as a Cowboys fan, I'm pretty mad about it because the other running back on our team is a washed Ezekiel Elliott, so yeah, I'm mad. Let's now talk about the wide receiver core, and entering the offseason, they had one of the worst cores in the NFL, and it's not one of the best now, but it's certainly a lot better. Last offseason, they signed DeAndre Hopkins, and I was scared that his career was going to die here, but he had a pretty good season in 2023, and it looks like he still has a few more good seasons left in the tank. And they also signed Calvin Ridley to that stupidly expensive deal, but they got a pretty solid wide receiver number 2, and they also filled a huge hole in the wide receiver department. And they also signed Tyler Boyd as their wide receiver number 3, and he's well past his prime, but he can still put you up a solid 500 to 700 yards a season, and I think he's a pretty solid wide receiver number 3. So in just one offseason, the Titans, it seems like, completely cleared up their wide receiver needs. And then for our wide receiver 2, so you have Traylon Burks, who will sadly never live up to that first round potential. It's really sad to see. But the other guys is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, I think I'm saying that right, and Kyle Phillips, who they're not good, let's just be real, they're alright. But like I said, this was one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL last year, and I don't think this is a great wide receiver core. They definitely got better, and they're mid-tier. So Titans fans, I'd be happy about that. We now get to the O-line, and entering 2023, it was one of the worst O-lines in the NFL, and it probably still is entering 2024, and it's definitely the worst part for this team. Like I said, the O-line was one of the worst last year, and honestly, it's been one of the worst for the last few years, and that's why they drafted Peter Skoranek, I think I'm saying that right, in the 2023 NFL Draft, and that was definitely the best pick they could have taken. Now, for 2024, last year's draft, or I guess this year's draft, I don't know what I'm saying, they drafted J.C. Latham, and I think there were a lot of better options they could have taken. By the way, I said Peter Skoronski's name wrong big time, so that's my bad. But anyway, in the 2024 NFL Draft, there were 2 linemen that I think the Titans should have taken. I'm going to say these names wrong, so Alu Foshanu or Tyrese Fuega, who went, I think, 11 and 15. Those are the guys they should have taken instead they took J.C. Latham. And I don't think Latham's bad, but those two guys I think are going to be better, and I think that the Titans will regret this pick. But yeah, besides that, this O-line is very mid. They are going to be bad next season, the O-line, and it's going to be by far the weakest part of this entire team. We are now going over to the defensive side of the ball, and I would say that the defensive side of the ball has been more important the last 3 seasons than Derrick Henry has been to this Titans team, and they lost some guys last season, but they filled some much needed holes during the offseason. We're going to start off with the front 3. Sebastian Joseph Day, I really don't know a lot about him. Devontae Sweat, though, he was at Texas last season, and that was a good pick in this year's draft. And then, of course, Jeffrey Simmons, who might be the best defensive player or just player in general on the Titans. He's been phenomenal so far in his career, and injuries did kind of hamper him last season, but if he's healthy in 2024, he's going to be a big part for this team, and if he plays and he stays healthy, he could be a big... I'm just yapping at this point. He's good. We now go to the linebackers, and we start off with Harold Landry, who in 2021 was one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He made the Pro Bowl, should have made the All-Pro team, but in 2022, he had an injury where he didn't play all that season, but in 2023, he only started 10 games, but in those 10 games, he was phenomenal. So if they get a healthy, prime Harold Landry, if Harold Landry is back in 2024, that will be huge for this team. Jack Gibbons, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I really don't know who you are. Kenneth Murray, though, I do know who that is. He wasn't bad on the Chargers. I think he was a pretty solid player. Didn't make any Pro Bowls or anything like that, but he did have a lot of tackles. That sounds like really casual of me, but he was pretty good in his time with the Chargers. I think he could be pretty solid with the Titans. Before we go to the secondary, I accidentally left out Arden Key, who I put in this graph. It's not a graphic, I screenshotted it from ESPN, but I accidentally left Arden Key out, and in just 9 starts last season for the Titans, he recorded 6 sacks, so give the man more starts, I think he can be pretty solid. They were able to get Chidobe Awuzie from the Bengals this offseason. He played for the Bengals, of course, and my Dallas Cowboys, and he was solid for both teams, and I think he can make a solid impact on the Titans. For the safeties, we have Amani Hooker and Elijah Molden, who have spent their whole career in Tennessee, and they've been alright. They haven't really stayed healthy. You go to their Football References page, and they haven't started all their games, but if they're able to, I think they could be pretty decent. And then to end off the secondary, we have L'Jarius Sneed, who they got in a trade from the Chiefs, and I'm very excited to see what he can do with Tennessee. He's not like Jalen Ramsey or anything like that. He's not the best cornerback in the NFL, but he is pretty solid. So I'm excited to see him as a Titan. I'm ready to see him play, and he's going to be very impactful for this team. But there is one major thing that is going to be in the Titans' path, and that's their division. First, we have the Houston Texans, who were the league's biggest surprise in 2023. They won the AFC South, and they just acquired Stephon Diggs in the offseason, and they're going to be led by sophomore year CJ Stroud and other guys like Tank Dell, Nico Collins, a very, I would say, decent O-line, and a pretty good defense. So they're going to be one of the scarier teams in the NFL, and they're going to be placed in the Titans division. We then have the Jaguars, who were in control of the AFC South for most of the season. However, a very bad midseason collapse and an embarrassing last week loss to, ironically, the Titans completely blew their first place spot, and hopefully they can get back on track. They're one of the teams I'm rooting for in the NFL in 2024, Trevor Lawrence, Trevor Etienne, who was on my fantasy team last year. I'm really hoping they can bounce back. They're a big boom or bust team. And then we have the Indianapolis Colts, who went 9-8 last year, I believe, and they had Anthony Richardson up until week 4 when he got injured. And this was really sad because it was going to be a great race between him and CJ Stroud, but he's going to be back for next season, and I'm excited. I believe he can lead the Colts to possibly a playoff berth. He's going to be one of the more exciting players next year. I cannot wait. So winning the division is going to be hard for the next season, but I really do believe the Titans can be a sneaky 8 or 9 win team. I think a lot of people have them being a bottom feeder, a 5-win team at most, but this is not a bad roster, and I think they can prove a lot of people wrong. So that's about it. Let me know what you think about the Titans, or who do you think is the sleeper team for 2024, and that's about it. Bye.